Well, today's video is sponsored by Black Gold Compost Company. We want to thank the good people over at Black Gold for their generous donation of all this black cow manure that we're using in our video today. Thank you for sponsoring our channel. Well, happy new day, Homestead family. Today we're going to talk about how to grow lima beans. We'll be right back. Well, welcome back, friends. Today we're going to grow some lima beans together, and this is a perfect vegetable to grow if you want to introduce a young child to gardening. My first garden when I was a little boy, I was 8 years old when I got my first garden. It had some lima beans in it, and the reason I say that is that lima beans, they have a nice big seed, and if you have a small child, they have a big seed to work with and they can see what they're doing. It's easy for them to plant the bean. It grows quick. It's got a rapid response, so that, you know, a short attention span as a child has, it keeps them interested and attentive. And when they see these plants grow, they get, you know, 25, 30 inches tall. That's pretty big for a child. And when they see the seed pods, you know, they're pretty good, 3-4 inches long, and they're easy to see and open and eat. So all the way through the whole process of growing a lima bean, a child will, it'll hold the child's interest. And you know, the way things are in the world these days, we just really need another generation of children to come along to learn a little bit about some of the basic skill sets of gardening. I mean, it breaks my heart to see things the way they are, and we don't want to lose gardening in our family home culture. It's a very great way to spend time with your children. It builds beautiful memories. To this day, here I am, 69, going on 70 years old, and I still remember those days with my daddy out there planting my lima beans and okra and corn. All the things that we planted together are special memories that are in my heart forever. And I know when I get to heaven, me and daddy gonna grow some more things together up there. So anyway, take a little interest in your children in the garden, and they will love it. And let me tell you, the time you spend out there, you will love too. So anyway, I got these seeds at johnnyseed.com. These are called Forward Hook. This is a basic, pretty standard lima bean. This does not need a trellis. These are basically a nice big bush bean, so that makes it easy on you. And they only take about 85, 90 days to harvest, you know. So we'll watch the progression of these seeds all the way from today when we plant them, you know, all the way out to harvest, and we'll make some lima bean soup. We'll make it together. So anyway, these are some great seeds. When you go out to the earth bed, I'm going to be direct sowing these. So there's no reason to try to start these in starter cups. Just make it easy on yourself and go direct sow. And cut in your furrow and plant these things about, it recommends 3 or 4 inches apart, but I usually don't do that. I wait for my soil to get a little bit warm when I can stick my bare hand down in the soil and it doesn't feel cold. It's warm enough. Another good sign is if you look out on your earth bed and you see all these little weeds just instantly spring up in a week, you're not going to have any trouble with your seed germination. The reason I say all that is a lima bean is real sensitive to cold soil, and if you have your soil is too cold and you plant your lima beans, you're going to get a very poor germination rate. But if you have nice warm soil, you'll have a good germination rate. There's no reason to put them in 3 inches and 4 inches apart and have to go back and thin them. I just put them in about 8 inches apart, 8 or 10 inches apart, and let her rip, baby, because I really hate going back and thinning stuff out if I can avoid it. So anyway, that's what I'm going to do today. My rows are 36 inches apart, and I recommend that for all my direct sow in my earth bed. Everything's 36 inches. Now, if you don't have that kind of room, you know, take it on down to 24 inches if you want. I don't think you'll have any problem with that at all. I just prefer mine to be 36 inches wide on everything I do. Another thing is you only want these things about 1 inch deep, half an inch to 1 inch deep. Don't bury them too deep. And I'm going to plant these in my row today using my brand new super duper seed dropper. I just made this last week. So I'm really looking forward to using this. If you haven't seen that video, Nancy will put a little video up, a little link to the video that we did to build this. Got a little handle, a little container. I pour my seeds in the container, and when I walk down the row, I can just stick the bottom of the pipe right in the hole, take a seed, drop it in the top, and it goes right in the hole, and I don't have to bend over. At my age, with the injuries I've had to my back and legs, this right here is a lifesaver. So I'll be, my procedure, my standard procedure for my earth bed today is I'm going to cultivate in my black cow manure. I've got it spread out there. It's about 4 inches thick, and it's been there for about 4 weeks now. So I'm going to cultivate that in. I'm going to grade it out and kind of even it out, maybe get some of the little weeds that are popping up out there, try to clean that out a little bit. And then I'll put my guide string on there, and I like to walk down my row with this little 2x2, and I pop a little hole right down the row, right along my guide string, so I have a perfect straight row. And that puts a little hole in the ground about 1 inch deep. Then I come back with my super duper seed dropper, and I drop the hole in. Drop the seed in the hole, and then I'll come back with my grading rake, and I'll just cover over the row with soil, and then, you know, water it in, and we'll be off and running. After these plants get up about 8 inches high, I'll come back and I will hill these just a little bit, and we'll go over that in the next, in the days ahead when we get to that point. I just like to hill my beans because they tend to get a little bit top heavy, so I want to hill them up to give them some more support, build a nice strong root structure, so when that nice plant gets nice and big, it's got plenty of support at the base to keep it from toppling over. What I'm going to be using for fertilizer today is just a little bit of triple 10. It's a synthetic fertilizer, and it's just what I use. These lima beans are going to be heavy feeders, and they're going to need a lot of nitrogen, and I don't want to put pure nitrogen on them. I'm going to put a balanced 10-10-10. That's, you know, kind of a mild, standard, generic fertilizer for your garden. There's nothing wrong with it. A lot of people want to go full organic. If that's what you want to do, then I would suggest putting in a heavy dose of blood meal. But that gets kind of an expensive item to get, and the way things are in the world lately, I can't afford to buy all that blood meal, so I'll just stick with the triple 10. It's expensive enough as it is, but it goes a lot further and lasts longer. So I'll be hitting it with the 10, and then we'll be off and running. So let's head on over to the garden complex and over to the earth bed over there, and let's get this show on the road. Well, there we go. We got 2 rows of our Ford Hook lima beans installed. So the only thing left for me to do now is just water this in with the overhead sprinklers. I want to keep this ground moist for the next 10 to 14 days till I get a good germination. And after I get them on up, then I'll probably cut my watering back to about every 7 days and give them about a 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch of water every 7 to 10 days. And that's for my area with my heat and weather conditions and my sandy soil. That may differ for all of y'all wherever you're located. Here in zone 9A with sandy soil and very hot humid temperatures in Florida, I'll have to do this at least once a week. So anyway, there we go. We'll be back in the days ahead, and we'll watch the progression of these beautiful lima beans all the way up till we can get us a bowl of lima bean soup. See you soon. Well, welcome back, friends. It's been 10 days since we started our lima beans. These 2 rows right here behind me, 1, 2, and they have germinated, emerged, and they've got a couple of true leaves on each plant. So they're doing pretty good. We are experiencing a challenge from Mr. Rabbit. I saw his tracks where he's come in here and he's nibbled off 3 or 4 of them down there. So I guess I'm gonna have to do something about this rabbit wire around the deer fence out here. The deer fence has been 100% effective on keeping the deer out. But now I need to put in a 3-foot high strand of rabbit wire around the bottom, all the way around the whole perimeter. I just haven't done that. I've been kind of putting it off with the price of material and everything these days. It's just very expensive for us, but it looks like we're at the point where it's not gonna matter what it costs. If we want to have a garden, we're gonna have to do it. So I guess I'll have to be calling the B&M fence fellers, old Brad, get him out here and see if we can't get some rabbit wire strung up, try to save our garden. But anyway, we'll be back in the days ahead. We'll be continuing to monitor the progress of our lima beans all the way up to harvest. We'll see you soon. Well, welcome back, Homestead family. It's been 17 days since we planted our 2 rows of lima beans, and I think the last time we talked, they only had a couple of true leaves showing. Since then, they have gained a lot of traction. They're up about 8-10 inches tall now. They've got 6-8 true leaves on each plant. I've got some a little bit of damage from the rabbits nibbling the tops, but we're fixing to put in the rabbit fence, so that'll solve that problem. But today, these 2 rows of lima beans need a little bit of attention. At the 17-day mark, I've got several true leaves, so at this point I want to side dress both sides of each row lightly with a balanced fertilizer. I'm using a 10-10, 10-10-10. I'm going to go down both sides of each row, and then I'm going to cultivate it in 4 inches deep with my little cultivator, and then I'm going to heel the row. I'll go down one side with my hard tooth rake and then up the other side, and I'll heel them up so that the beans are healed, so when they start to gain height and they get laden with fruit, I don't want them to blow over so easy in the rain or wind and my beans lay in the dirt, because when that happens, the beans end up rotting, they draw slugs. It's just very dirty and very hard to clean them when we do harvest them. So what I want to do right now is heel them to support them, and That way in the days ahead when they start to fruit out, it'll be a much easier harvest and a much easier processing, so we can get them things into soup pot. So let's go ahead and get this little job over with for today, and I shouldn't have to heal them up anymore or fertilize them throughout the rest of the life of this plant. So today's little investment of time and labor is well worth it. So let's get started. Well, there we go. 2 rows of lima beans are up, healed up, and fertilized. So I'll keep my eye on these in the days ahead and keep giving them plenty of love. One thing I want to point out is in the days ahead, as these temperatures start to increase during the springtime, you're going to see an explosion of weeds. So you don't want your plants to have to compete with that. So in between where I healed up the rows, I want to keep that cultivated in between the rows so that the weed, keep that weed pressure down off of these little plants. So we'll be back in the days ahead and we'll watch the progress of our lima beans all the way up to harvest. See you then. Well, welcome back, friends. It's been 5 weeks since we planted our lima beans, and it's been 3 weeks since our last update. And as you can see, they've really made some pretty good traction, and some of the plants are really getting up tall. I wanted to emphasize that when you're growing these for the first time and you see those long runners starting to appear on the top of the plant, don't be alarmed like that. You're not going to need a trellis. These are considered to be bush plants, bush beans. So they will get, fairly good size, fairly good height, and you don't need to put in a trellis. They'll be just fine. And just keep them healed up. We had a really bad thunderstorm come through here 2 or 3 nights ago, and it knocked down some of the beans, as you can see right here. We healed them up last time we were doing an update with you. We healed them up, but the heels saved 90% of the plants. We got some that are knocked down. I'm going to have to play around with them, try to get them back up in the vertical position, but I think they'll be okay in the days ahead. But if you look up close on some of these, you can see they're just starting to develop a little bitty bud, which will mean they will be putting on flowers here very shortly. And as soon as you see the flowers, that's a good sign, because right shortly after that, they start developing the bean pods and eventually the bean inside. So we'll be back in the days ahead, and we'll continue to watch the progress of these 2 little rows of lima beans till we can make some soup. See you then. All right, good morning, friends. Our lima beans are doing beautifully. They've been growing for about 8 weeks now, and as you can look down the row, they are covered in blooms. Blooms from one end of the row to the other. They just look absolutely beautiful. The beans now are up, to my thigh. So, the bean plants, and as you can see, they still don't need a trellis. These are bush beans. So they're looking great. I pulled off one of the little bean pods. They're just starting to show up on the plants. Let me show that to you up close. It's always making progress when I see one of these guys show up. So as you can see, it's just a very young bean pod that is just starting to do something. And in the days ahead, that will get much, much larger, and the little bean that's inside will swell up to make a delicious soup. So we'll be back in the days ahead, and we'll check on our beans progress. See you then. Well, welcome back, friends. Today is lima bean soup day. we woke up this morning and we said, hey, let's go get the lima beans. I want to make some ham and lima bean soup for lunch. So I said, okay, we need to get these things up anyway, but that's what the day's plan is. These lima beans continue to grow and grow and grow all the way, all summer. And as long as you're getting these flowers on here, as long as you're getting the blooms, and you'll end up with getting the beans. And you can come out, if you just have a few plants, like 10 or 12 plants, you can just pick them and enjoy them, and then come back later, pick them again, in multiple times. But we've got such a big row, what we're going to do is just harvest up the whole plant at one time, pull all the beans off, and that gives us plenty of lima beans for several months. And we'll go ahead and cook some today for lunch, and then we'll blanch and freeze the rest. But that gives us all we can possibly eat, don't you think?
Yeah, in a year. It would take us a year to eat all that.
1 year's worth is plenty for us. So anyway, that's what the game plan of the day is. So we're gonna get these going and get that soup on the stove, okay?
Sounds good.
Let's get started. Lima beans and ham. Breakfast of champions.
Definitely. Great budget meal.
Well, let's definitely need to thank the Lord for these. Gracious Lord, we give you thanks for these and all other blessings. Bless this food to the nourishment of our body and our body unto your service. We humbly beg for Christ's sake. Amen.
Amen. Okay. I got some rice for me. I know you didn't want any, but I like it with some little bit of rice. And here's some hot peppers. You might want some.
Wow, those are delicious.
Melt in your mouth.
They really do. Our
They do.
pressure cooker does a great job.
I know. You had some of the beans that was dried more than the others, so
They're really good. They're great flavor.
that's good.
Definitely melts in your mouth.